Let's go.
Hi, I'm Callan O'Keefe, and this is Motorsport Radio.
You can have it till you can't take no more.
This is Monday Motorsport with Lester Forbes on Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome to another Monday Motorsport on Motorsport Radio. My name is Lester. Thank you very much for tuning in. We are live on a Monday night. Yes, it's the May Day, the 1st of May 2017, bank holiday in Great Britain, and we've seen a fantastic weekend of racing. Literally too much to talk about in one programme. I was at Rockingham at the weekend watching the British GT Championship and the Formula 3 Championship. That was there amongst other things. But myself, Dan Marr, Nick Smith from the Image team, and Connor Jackson, journalist, podcast presenter, and also pretty good guy as well. He's coming up, as well as Nick and Dan all later, plus loads and loads and loads of interviews from the GT Roundup. Are you still confused with what happened in British GT Championship? If you watched it yesterday live on Tinterwebs or live on telly, then you might have seen that there was a bit of an awkward situation involving a safety car, race control, passing and such, and there was a lot of stuff going on which understandably surmounted to a lot of confusion with fans. But fear not, Dan Marr, yes, Dan Marr, our very own, is here to explain and unravel what happened and go behind the scenes and speak to the recently crowned race winner, as it was last evening. Anyway, we caught up with him just minutes after the official race result was announced. Rick Parfitt Jr. Will be on the show later, as well as lots of people, amongst other James Poll from British Formula 3, Cameron Daz as well, NM Ahmed, Chase Owen, he's on the show, Toby Sowery, Ben Hingely, Omar Ismail. We've also got Jeremy Wahome and Jamie Chadwick as well, plus Scott Malvern, Ciaran and Sandy Mitchell, Ciaran Haggerty and Sandy Mitchell, and Will Tregurtha, all on the show. Plus we properly unveil and review what was a fantastic British Formula 3 Championship rounds at Rockingham from the weekend, and we've even got some breaking news as well to break, sort of. Well, sort of. I'll let you decide anyway. We'll play it later, and it could be that maybe two drivers in Formula 3 making somewhat of a switch. Could be. That's all I'm going to tease you with for now. But in Formula 3, that's where we start on tonight's programme, because it was a fantastic weekend, as I will get on to say. Cameron Daz making it a 100% record in his qualifying session, making it 2 out of 2 on pole position from a qualifying session. He did the same at Alton Park on his very debut in British Formula 3. He's only going to done it again at Rockingham. He got pole position for race number 1, and it was pretty good. It wasn't a great start for him in race number 1, has to be said, because he actually finished second. It was NM who sprinted away into the lead, and that's where he remained for the remainder of the race. NM winning all 3 races, a record-breaking feat at Alton Park. No one's ever done a hat-trick of victories at the same race event, really. And NM in race number 1 made it 4 out of 4, a staggering, stunning achievement. Fantastic, brilliant to see. The reverse grid race for race number 2 in Formula 3 meant that NM was starting P8, and well, he was up against it, and shall we find out what happened? I think it's only fair. After race number 2 in the BRDC British Formula 3 Championship, and it was an altogether much more eventful, spectacular, action-packed, incident-packed race, and it was actually pole person Jamie Chadwick, who unfortunately didn't get a good start in race 2. She ended up in second place towards the end of the first lap. It was Omar Ismail who actually got a bit of a rocket start away and thundered into the lead, but it was Cameron Daz, the young American from the Carling team who found his way to the top of the podium. Yes, he has finally done it, and he spoke to me after his first race victory in British Formula 3. Cameron Daz, congratulations. How did you do it?
Yeah, in the start, I got a pretty good getaway. I think I just stayed in the same position, didn't lose or gain a position. But going into turn 2, I saw that there were a couple cars were probably going to get in contact in the outside. So I dived to the inside, avoided the cars, got up to like 3rd or 4th by turn 3. And then it was side by side, banging wheels with Hingely through turn 4. And luckily, I was able to edge them out and then sort of pick off the other guys one by one.
Well, yeah, you were, like you say, you were up to P3. There was a few incidents that were sort of happening kind of in front of you. You were kind of lucky to escape all that.
Yeah, obviously keeping my nose clean is the most important thing in any race, really. Points is more valuable than a win, but once I saw the guys in front of me and I could tell my pace was pretty good, I decided to go for it. And then once I got around them, I went for a quick lap and then saved my tires for the rest of the race. So it should be in good shape for race 3.
Well, you say you save your tyres for the rest of the race, but it looked to me like you were pulling out a massive big gap at the end.
Yeah, I couldn't, the mirror is kind of hard to see, so I couldn't tell if I was gaining or losing, but I knew there was a safe gap, so for the last like 5 laps or so, I sort of toned it down.
Well, congratulations, your first win in the BRDC British Formula 3 Championship, and it's another fantastic podium. What can you do in race number 3?
Obviously the getaway is the most important thing. I've got quite a few under my belt now, so I think we'll be okay. But yeah, it's just keeping the nose clean through turn 1, and I think we can run away from it after that.
Congratulations, Cameron.
Thank you.
Cameron Daz speaking to me on the podium just after his first win in Formula 3, possibly the first of many. That's what I'm sure he's hoping for. Cameron. Second place on the podium, it was Omar Ismail, got a rocket, thunderous start off the grid, but wasn't able to capitalise on it and stay ahead of Daz, who seemed to be even quicker in that Carling car. I caught up with Omar after his first podium of the season at Rockingham. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a really good start that we got. Managed to get into the lead, but then we just struggled with tyre grip, and I saw Cameron behind me catching up to me. I knew he was quicker than me, so I didn't want to make it a big fight, make it a dirty race. I kept it nice and clean, and fair play, he got past me. After that, I just kept my head and focused on just getting a good lap for race 3, whilst also, keeping my position. At the end of the game, it's a points game.
Well, talk us through the start from your point of view. What happened?
Well, I do the starts as I usually do, and I know I have a really good way of starting. I know it's quick, so I kind of did plan to get past them straight away at the start, which is what I did. What I didn't really plan was, how much I struggled. Then later on, pace compared to Cameron. So, yeah.
What can you do in the third and final race of the weekend later today?
We're gonna think long and hard, review everything we've gone through, look at the car, look at myself, see where I can get pace, because if I get that last bit of pace, I'm sure we can get a really good result again.
Excellent, well done, congratulations, and I'm sure you'll be looking forward to the third race later.
Yeah, so do I.
He had some great fights in the first round at Alton Park, Omar, and he got his first podium at race number 2 at Rockingham in round number 2 of this season. Fantastic to see him on the podium for Chris Dittman Racing. What can he do in race number 3? I'll have to wait and see. Stay tuned to the show and find out a bit later. But the perhaps person who's been receiving some of the most attention in Formula 3 coming into the season overall was Jamie Chadwick, GT champion in GT4 already. I've spoken to her after a podium. Yes, she's finally done it on the podium, 3rd place, and here she is. After race number 2, and it's a first podium in British F3 for Jamie Chadwick. Well, Jamie, we all kind of knew it wouldn't take that long, but well done.
Yeah, thank you. I think, going off pole, I think we put ourselves under quite a bit of pressure to try and get a good result out of it and make the most of the opportunity, I guess. And yeah, I got caught up in a bit of the melee at turn 1. Cameron was a bit quicker, but I was just, really happy to cross the line in P3.
Well, talk us through what exactly did happen in the on that first lap with everybody else, and how lucky were you to escape it?
Really lucky, actually. I was just saying to the boys, I think my car's made of steel, because I went down into turn 1. I didn't get a great start. Omar got the run off me down into turn 1, and I think it was one of the Carlin boys, James Paul, tried to go around the outside, and I was there on the inside and came across, and I think it did a fair bit of damage to the rear of his car, but fortunately my front wing was untouched and I managed to sort of push on in the race. But it's one of those things, it's a lot of F3 cars going down into one corner, it's always going to bunch up a bit, but yeah, I was lucky to get out of it.
Yeah, the traditional sort of F3 mayhem here at Rockingham in that hairpin, in that first lap melee. Daz managed to get past you on I think lap 2 it was, and that put you down into third place where you remained as well, and you managed to sort of keep with that leading pack for the rest of the race.
Yeah, Daz was quite a bit quicker. I knew he was, and I think rather than trying to defend that early on in the race and keep him behind, bunch him into the pack, I just thought it's better to let him go and try and chase him a little bit. And yeah,
do you regret doing that?
No, not at all. He was much quicker than we were at the time, and it meant that I could settle into a rhythm in P3 with a gap behind, which was what it was about. And yeah, I don't think I was going to hold him off for long anyway. So yeah, I think it was right decision, and he got away quite quick and managed to get out into the lead, as we saw. So yeah, from there I just made sure I just sort of kept with the lead group and chipped away on my lap times every lap, being consistent, and yeah, I knew the podium was in sight.
Well, has this car, obviously it's got the speed, because you've got your first podium, the first of probably many, I'm guessing, don't want to jinx it, but do you think perhaps with this car and with the team you could perhaps push for a title challenge?
I think after Alton, title challenge is a little bit away from us at the moment, but this year we just want to be getting podiums, pushing as hard as we can. You know, it's not really about results. If we win some, we will lose some, and I think the focus has just got to be to keep learning, and being on pole today was the best learning experience I could have asked for, and finishing third was a nice reward for that.
Just talk us through, not many people will have ever been on a pole position, let alone a Formula 3 pole position. What's the pressure like? What do you think? Because we saw you just before the race, let's say, being focused, which I suppose you've got to do. But what's it like? Do you have to get in some sort of special mind frame to know that you've got 15 other potential lunatics behind you waiting to take you out?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, whether you're on pole position or any starting grid, you always put pressure on yourself to do the best as possible, and whether you're starting at the back of the grid or the front, I don't think it makes a huge difference. But yeah, I think that's the first time I've obviously been on pole in F3, so I just made sure I was as focused as possible. I got a really good start yesterday when I didn't really think too much about it, and today I think I thought a little bit too much, so it's important to stay relaxed, and subconsciously you know exactly what you need to do, your routine, so just stick to that and not overthink it, I like to say. But I think I was quite relaxed going into the start, and it all comes around so quick. I was off the line before I knew it, so yeah, I was just focusing on getting off the line as quick as possible.
Well, I'll let you go and figure out what it is you need to do for race number 3 to get a win.
Cheers. Yeah, it's got to be the aim. I think we're starting a bit further back, but yeah, going to be aiming higher now after this result.
Jamie Chadwick, congratulations on your first F3 podium.
Cheers, thank you.
Perhaps the first of many podiums for Jamie Chadwick, fresh on the podium in British F3, and saying that perhaps she was focusing a bit too much, perhaps being a bit too serious and overplaying things in her mind a little bit, perhaps a bit of a learning curve to go through for these young drivers. Jamie already being, as we know, very experienced in winning things in this paddock, but also a person who was looking very, very rapid was Toby Sowery as well. He was putting some brilliant manoeuvres on various people. I caught up with him to get his point of view on how his race went. After race number 2, and I'm with Toby Sowery. Toby, talk us through race number 2 today.
Fairly average start. Made a place or two up on the first lap with some other guys falling off, and then it was a fairly hard force-out race with Callum for 60% of it. So it was probably one of the more fun races I've had this season, but it was tough for sure.
Yeah, certainly there was a lot going on in race 2 up and down the field, but you certainly stood out as one of the people who were making quite a lot of position moves and challenging for various positions.
Yeah, I think everyone spread out a little bit. Rockingham is not the easiest place to overtake, but obviously we had a different strategy tyre-wide to a lot of other people, so it gave us a bit of an advantage. But as I said, it's difficult to overtake around here, so it was easy for Callum to place the car in the right position, and difficult for me to get into the right place to make sure we stuck in front of him, but unfortunately we couldn't make it stick.
So I'm just getting out of the way of cars being rolled in and stuff. Was this race fun for you?
Yeah, it's what should should happen in most races, not just 3 cars trying to overtake once and then that's it. I think we need a lot more close racing like we had then. Something for spectators and something for us drivers is quite fun.
Excellent. What can you do in race number 3, the final race at Rockingham today?
We shall see. I'm not too sure where we're starting. Obviously, the way the grid works, you don't really find out till the results come out. But I think if we can race that well in race 2, then for race 3 we should definitely be quite competitive.
Will you be making any sort of changes to the setup and any new tyres and such?
No new tyres for this one. We used ours then, but you know we've definitely got a few changes to make. We're lacking some pace, but you know I think everyone's going to be changing something.
Toby, we'll look forward to seeing what you do in the final race of the week.
Cheers, thank you.
Toby Sowery putting the moves on various people, ending up in 6th place in race number 2 at the weekend here at Rockingham. I'm stood just in front of the Carling garage next to the race number 2 winner, Cameron Daz's car. And it was a fantastic victory for him in the race. There was a bit of controversy, let's say, in race number 2, because there was a bit of a lap 1 melee involving James Pull and Inam Ahmed and Nikolai Kiergaard as well. Let's go and find out what James has to say about all of that. After race number 2 at Rockingham, and I'm with James Pull. Hi, James.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm all right. You seem to be in good spirits despite being shafted off the track. What happened?
I got a good start, just like I did at Alton, and seem to be getting some good starts recently. So yeah, I got a good start. Got up to around 2nd before turn 2, and I went to the outside of Jamie, and Nikolai also went onto the outside of me. So it was a bit of a three-car sandwich going into a hairpin, which wasn't good. But yeah, you know, I couldn't go any more wider because I had Nikolai there, and I was in front of Jamie. But yeah, we touched, and it was a very small touch, and she tried quite hard to not hit me. But yeah, it's racing, so yeah, I got spun around. I tried to go again, but I had too much damage. So yeah, a shame, but just again, I'm showing my strength in the start. So hopefully next race starting 5th, it's got some strong guys in front. If I can get a good start and get ahead of them, it'll be a good race, I think.
Yeah, certainly. I think you're being very sort of diplomatic in saying that Jamie was trying to avoid you. I think she was given a penalty, which puts her at the back for the start of race number 3. Bit of a shame for her, I suppose, getting her first podium of the season. Nevertheless, you start in 5th place, 1 place ahead of Enam, and a couple of places behind Cameron. So is it is it going to be a free-for-all for race number 3? How do you envisage it going?
We'll have to see. You know, these guys have shown that they're really fast this weekend, so yeah, we're just gonna have to see. I just got to get, like I said, get a good start, and then hopefully I can get in front, and then Rockham's quite hard in places to overtake. You can tow and stuff, but it's quite hard on the slipstream understeer. So yeah, we just got to see. I'm just going to try my best to get a good start, forget about last race, and just focus on now.
Exactly. So all positivity from now on. Weekend overall for you, ignoring race 2?
A bit damage limitation in race 1 because I didn't get great qualifying. I just didn't really hook it up, and I qualified 9th, which is not good for me. But I still finished 5th. I got a good start last race, and I overtook 4 people around the outside in that race. So yeah, showing I'm good in the races, and I've got good racecraft. So if I can just fix the qualifying and catch up with the guys on the pace, I'll be fine.
Seems to me that at either track, Alton, it was Enam who sort of hooked it up and had a magical weekend. Here it seems to be Cameron, although less so because he's not won every race, but he's certainly very rapid around here. It seems to be becoming one of his favourites. For you, looking ahead for the rest of the season though, have you got a particular favourite in mind?
To be honest, I like a lot of the tracks, but definitely Spa. It's just Spa. It's magical. To be honest, there isn't really anywhere that I'm particularly excited about. Brands actually. I had a really good weekend at Brands in the F4 where I won. I got a couple 8-second lead or something, and it's going to be interesting because we only have 20 minutes of driving before the qualifying there, so going into qualifying everyone's going to be not knowing what to do really, so I'm excited for that because I think I'm quite good at getting to the limit. And everyone's going to have a good weekend and a bad weekend, so hopefully I'll have a good weekend soon.
Excellent. Good luck in race 3, James.
Thank you.
High controversy here at Rockingham. Yes, the end of race number 2. I saw the American Cameron Daz take victory. But it's not without incident, though, because as you just heard from James there was quite a bit of action going on. Let's hope for race number 3 is going to be a lot more action-packed. We'll find out what happened later in the show. Indeed you will, yes. Round 3, or race number 3 from round 2 at Rockingham in the BRDC British F3 Championship coming up later in the show, as well as some bombshell news being dropped by someone. That's all I'm going to say. You'll see for yourself. Or hear for yourself. This is Monday Motorsport on Motorsport Radio. My name is Lester. Hello. Thank you very much for tuning in. You can get in touch with us because we are live this evening, and we are on Twitter. It's M Sport Radio on Twitter because we couldn't find. We've not allowed the Motorsport Radio thing. That's someone else's. We're on Facebook as well. It's facebook.com/Motorsport Radio, and we're also streaming on YouTube. I think last time I checked we were. We're also on Twitch, whatever that is. The kids play their games on the Twitch thing nowadays. I'm so old, but yeah, we're on there as well, and a couple of other streaming sites as well. We're simultaneously streaming on Facebook as well this evening. So hello to you for watching. My name is Lester, as you can. Well, if you didn't know, my name's Lester. And we've got race number 3 roundup coming up with Connor Jackson from the Checkered Flag. Brilliant online publication. Check that out. As well as right now, a chat with Dan Marr and Nick Smith as well from the Image team as they pick apart all the controversy, and there was a lot, that happened at yesterday's British GT event.
Round 3 of the 2017 British GT Championship here at Rockingham, the first of the 2-hour endurance races. I'm here with Nick Smith. Nick, it didn't feel like it was an endurance race, did it?
No, it felt like a cross between a GT sprint race and a touring car race, to be honest. There's some questionable driving standards involved. The race went actually very, very quickly. It didn't feel like an endurance race much at all, and to be honest, the controversy overhanging the end of the race has eclipsed what happened in it.
Well, as you say, controversy at the end of the race, the white elephant in the room, or in this case the green and white elephant in the room, the number 21, which was originally the winner of the motor race. It turned out after the race, though, an investigation by the stewards, which had actually been noted by the marshals, reported to the stewards, and it was announced that the T21 was given a post-race drive-through penalty, which then meant the win went to the number 31, Team Parker Racing Bentley of Seb Morris and Rick Parfitt, which meant that they had won by 9/10 of a second after 2 hours of racing. It was quite interesting. Originally, though, 26 seconds. How do you get from 26 seconds to 9/10 of a second? Well, there was another reported piece of controversy here, as the safety car was called very late on in the race, and to put it mildly, interestingly enough anyway, the way I'm going to describe it as, the safety car was called the 21, along with, I believe, the number 51 Lanham racing car, the Ginetta G55 GT4. They were both let out by the safety car to go out and, unlap themselves, basically. What that had happened, though, is the 21 had received very early on in the race a 5-second time penalty throughout the course of the race due to track limits being excluded by the number 21 at the hands of Duncan Cameron. Sadly, that meant he got a 5-second penalty. What then happened is him and the number 51 with Matt Griffin installed went on and basically went off into the distance. 30 seconds for them, and then the rest of the GT3 cars were, much further away, which then meant that, something like that. Sorry, I'm just winding up Leicester. But in all seriousness, the cars, which then meant it was a one prancing horse race for the win. and that was a decision some in the media centre found particularly ungood.
Yeah, and I was one of them. I'd got back from shooting the race by that point, and I witnessed this and had it explained to me exactly what the situation was, because I've been out trackside, and yeah, it made me quite angry. It's just another example of questionable officiating at British GT that pops its head up every now and then across the season and across the seasons that have passed. The whole idea of the penalty, it was pretty fair. The penalty that was applied took the car which did wrong, and that wrong was front end to rear end contact on the Bentley, which put the Ferrari ahead, and it took that car and it put it behind the Bentley because it was a 25.1 second gap, and the 26 second penalty put it 0.9 of a second behind. The stewarding has been exceptional this weekend, but the race control has been slightly questionable, and it's something that needs to be looked at in the future.
Well, it was controversial. It was interesting because, as you said, Nick, the way that the safety car was called out, the decision, I think, because obviously the time penalty was in place because it's retrospectively added, but into the moment it's recorded as TSL, the timing systems we use. So obviously that meant ever since he got the 5-second penalty, it was that and then 5 seconds as soon as he came over the line. So that meant under the safety car he wasn't in the lead. Matt Griffin was not in the lead. He would be, I believe, 4th in the queue, which then maybe the race control, personally, this is just me saying, personally they might have seen that and might not have realised, and then obviously they got way through, and then the end result was that was what happened. If Nick, nice tripod. So yeah, the end result for that one was that in the end the Ferraris let through, but to say that, you know, that the decision with the qualifying, the decision with the penalty was built in such a way, as you said, that would reverse the result, but it was a drive-through penalty. It was not like there are rules in the series, they were followed, as you said, the stewarding, they did follow the rules. It would have been given a drive-through penalty because it was being investigated, let's not forget, during the course of the race, until they said after the race they'll look at it. So drive-through penalty was enacted, that was the end of that was the decision. So in the end, the result going the way of Team Parker Racing. In fact, we heard from Rick Parfitt Jr. not long after we heard of that decision, so here's us talking to him. Rick Parfitt, winner of round 3 of the 2017 British GT Championship here at Rockingham. Well, I suppose the main thing on everyone's minds, you won it by 9/10 of a second.
Yeah, I mean, bit of a controversial race, obviously, you know, a bit of a mess up with the safety car. So, I mean, that kind of put the race to bed in a way that could never have been resolved. So we couldn't question that. However, you know, the Ferrari quite clearly hit Seb to pass him, and of course, you know, that's a punishable offence in this series, and you know, Seb got penalised at Alton for hitting a car and obviously gaining a position by it, and so exactly the same happened here, and so the Ferrari was penalised, and that gave us the win. But on a personal level, I've come here for so many years and I've led so many times in GT3. In GT3, you know, I haven't actually led, but in GT4 I led twice, had a massive lead, and both times something happened. In GT3 I've always been going really, really well, but something's always happened. So it's so great to get the win at Rockingham. You know, it's obviously not how we want to win it. So, you know, we're not going to be jumping around about it, but you know, it's good championship points. It's really good for us. I think it puts us back into second, and we can build a championship assault from here. So it's good.
So you said, of course, it was a safety car. Interesting result with the final safety car, of course, the Matt Griffin car, which had a 5-second penalty. So obviously I had to deal with that throughout the course of the race, which meant no matter what he did, he had to push to try and get the best result possible. It was leading, I believe, it was ahead on the road. I wasn't sure whether it was leading on the circuit by the time the last safety car had been called, but I believe he resulted in a position where when he was behind the safety car, he was back into 4th, so they let him and the Lanham Racing 51 Ginetta through, which then effectively gave them half a lap, which I suppose, for getting so close in the lead of the race overall with you and Seb, must have been really crushing.
I mean, that was ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it, you know. And you know, we had a strategy. Seb was trying to save his tyres as well, and we wanted to push to the latter half of the thing. So, you know, it would have been an interesting race, that's for sure. But obviously, we also knew that he had actually hit Seb to pass him. You know, it's all very well and good, you know, racing, but you've got to race fairly. And you know, if you can't have one rule for one person and one for another, so you know that was always in the back of our minds anyway. But I think it would have been close. The Ferrari was going quickly, you know, and but you know, Seb had stuff in reserve as well, and so it would have been ultimately fairly close, I think. But we knew all we had to do was stay within 5 seconds of them. So and I'm fully convinced that Seb could have done that. So yeah.
And it was an interesting race overall. As you said, you started the race. It was a little bit chaotic. Even on the second lap, we had Harry Gottsacker in the Ginetta throw it into the bush, or the bushes per se. So it must have been quite tricky to deal with. I think 2 safety cars in your stint over the course of the hour.
Yeah, I mean, it was like an ice rink out there. We were pretty much running a wet setup, and I think that's what happened. I think the Astons were running very soft as well. Luckily, I had a great run on Minshaw at the beginning, and I thought, you know, I could have probably have, you know, been a little bit more aggressive, but this is a 2-hour race, and as everyone knows in British GT, you have to score points, and so there were lots of times I could have made moves, but I've always said to myself, you have to box clever, you have to think of the bigger picture. And so, you know, what I wanted to do was, I lost a couple of places, but you know, I knew that the car was really good and really strong, and as soon as we got going, I definitely had the pace on both Astons, and I think at the time I was the fastest car on the circuit as well, and so I just had to pressure them into a mistake, and finally I got the pass on Farmer. I got caught up with a GT4, he got back past, and then I pressured him into a bit of a mistake, and then went after the second Aston with Derek, and you could clearly see he was really struggling with his tyres as well, so I knew that if I just kept pushing, you know, hopefully a mistake would come, and it did come, and then I was catching, you know, Minshaw, you know, hugely, but I knew that all I needed to do, because they had a penalty, was sit behind him, and so, you know, we were thinking of bigger picture. There was a strategy in place, and it worked pretty well.
And of course, once Seb was installed into the car, he drove really well, and it was interesting to see that, you know, he was pushing, he was driving very fairly. It was a great race for him, I suppose, as well, really showing just what he's capable of in the Bentley.
Well, actually, Seb had quite a difficult stint, because the tyres didn't come in very, very quickly at all, and so he was really struggling with the tyres at the beginning, but the car was getting stronger and stronger and stronger towards the end of the race, and so, you know, we knew we were in a strong position, whatever happened, and so it's just nice to come away with a win. You know, it's good to come away with a win. It's not nice to have it in these circumstances. I hope everyone can just move on from this and realise that, you know, if you're going to pass, you can't hit people, and if you do, just give the place back, and then of course none of this would have happened, would it?
And of course, Snetterton 2 1-hour races, much like at Autumn Park, should suit the Bentley. Very long corners, very big straights, so sort of the car would suit Snetterton quite well, I'd say. Are you looking forward to it?
No, Snetterton doesn't suit our car at all. No, last year I think that was the poorest showing. I mean, Seb got out the car after qualifying last year and said, if you told me that was pole, I'd believe you, because it was the absolute perfect lap, and I think we were about 1.5 seconds off. There's too many stop-start corners, and we've also always known, as it was proven here as well, that traction is a problem with the Bentley, but we're better on fast flowy circuits where there's not many stop-starts, but you know us, we'll turn up, we'll do absolutely everything in our power, we'll lasso ourselves onto the back of everyone else, and we'll just see where we come out. But it's a long championship. We've got a very different mindset. It isn't a sprint race, you know. This championship, you have to think of the bigger picture. If you make one mistake, that's your championship gone. So you have to sometimes be, you know, use the better part of valour and come away with the most points you could possibly get without endangering the car or damage or not finishing. So we've got our heads screwed on. You know, we're here to try and win a championship, and for that you need points, and whether that's first or whether that's fourth, as long as we come away knowing we've done absolutely everything we can, then you can come away about as happy as you can be.
Well, it's going to be interesting at Snetterton. Thank you very much, Rick.
You're welcome. See you again.
Okay. Rick Parfitt there, and he was very pleased. As he said, he wasn't happy. He didn't want the race to be decided in that kind of way, but sometimes that's how motor racing goes. But as you said, Nick, it was contact. This isn't a GT touring car series. You know, if you are going to make collisions with people, and it was, I'm not going to say it was a push to pass. Some people might word it like that, but it was just a small piece of contact, but it let him go ahead of Seb Morris, and that partially unfairly ruled the race for them.
Yeah, it was unfair. It wasn't a clean move. It basically was push to pass. It was something you expect to see more from Virgin Australia supercars than British GT. I will point out though that whilst it was wrong, It was what Seb Morris got booked for in the last round on several occasions, and to a certain extent, what goes around comes around. Now, from the controversy of the of the end of the GT race, while we're here and we're with this race car, I'd just like to point out the very good thing that's happened this weekend, and that's that every car on the grid has been carrying the signs like on the top of the windscreen here, which Lester will get to in a moment with his camera, in support of Billy Munger, who had that horrible accident at Donington Park a couple of weeks ago. And it just shows how much of a family motorsport is, and it's something that I've been quite happy to see that.
It's been really nice to see the support he's been getting throughout the course of the weekend. Of course, all the sun strips on the British GT cars, all of the Formula 3 cars are running with Billy Wiz stickers, Forza Billy stickers as well, on the helmets, on the cars themselves. It's great to see that the entire paddock, and in fact all of the paddocks in motorsport, have been supporting Billy out in force. And the crowdfunding appeal, which we'll get a link to here, so remember to put that in, Lester, but has raised something like £800,000 for Billy, and it just shows how supportive the motorsport community is. You know, we say people race really hard, they'll race hard and fast till the end, but you know, they'll support their own, won't they?
Yeah, as I say, motorsport is a family, and when one of our family gets hurt, we all rally around, and it's really good to see.
Yes, of course. And yes, also GT3, this is GT3, the number 11. There was a bit of grass in there, just excuse that. Very late on in the race, John Barnes pushed it just a little bit too hard. They had a great qualifying yesterday, second place overall. I'm not entirely sure where they did finish overall in this race. Sorry, it's been a bit hectic. We've not had official results until about 5 minutes ago, you see, so we're not quite certain. But as you can see, just what 2 hours of motor racing does to these kinds of cars. You can see the dirt, the water, or the fluid that you get on the circuit, or the dust. These cars have been pushed hard in GT3 and in GT4. GT4 was maybe gone a little bit under the radar, but what a fantastic battle that was. At times 5 motor cars, 6 cars battling all the way for that. In fact, we heard from a couple of drivers. We'll catch up with our top 2 from GT4. So Will Tregurtha and Stuart Middleton, winners in GT4, Sandy Mitchell and Ciaran Haggerty, second place overall in GT4. You're a bit tall, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there was a bit of a struggle last year in the juniors to kind of fit in the car. That was a bit of trouble, but this year I'm fine. But I can't really believe that we've just won that race, so I'm really happy.
It was a fantastic battle with both of you, with the McLarens, with the Vettel Ginettas. Were you expecting them to be as strong around Rockingham as they were?
Well, definitely on one lap pace they're really fast, and it's very hard to get past them because of the straight line speed. They just put like a second gap on you, and then you just gain it all back through the corners and a little bit more, and then they drive away again. So it's so frustrating, but it's really good fun. And Stuart managed to get past the Sandy Mitchell and Ciaran Haggerty McLaren. So yeah, it's been such a good day.
You seem exhausted. I think first race of this length for the both of you. That must have been quite a learning experience as well.
Yeah, it was. Will set me up really well for my stint, and I managed to just keep the car consistent and close down the McLaren. So yeah, it was just a question of waiting out and seeing when he would make a slight mistake and get up the inside. So yeah, extremely happy with the result.
And of course, you say the McLarens are very strong in a straight line. The Ginettas very good through the twisty surface. Nesta next, you expecting more of the same in terms of the battle?
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be like this all year through. The McLarens just seem to drive away, coming out of the corners and up a straight, and then the Ginettas sort of mid-speed corner, they seem to be really good. So it's going to be a cat and mouse battle throughout the year. But yeah, we're looking forward to it.
And of course, both of you took pole position for today's race yesterday in quite an interesting little performance, about 4 tenths ahead of everyone else. It's those marginal gains, I suppose, you guys must be looking for in order to get ahead of what is a really competitive GT4 field this year. I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think the double qualifying really suits us because we're both pretty much the same speed as each other. I did make a little mistake on the last corner, to be honest, but I kind of dropped a bit of time there, but it still put us four temps up, so I was really happy. I mean, the car's been absolutely amazing. We didn't even get to test new tyres before qualifying, so it was just first lap, bang, out of the box. So I think Stuart did a really good lap. So yeah, it's just been really good and a really positive weekend as well.
And of course, for the rest of the season, as you say, the Ginetta versus McLaren battle in GT4 is going to be a fantastic one to see. Where are you expecting where the battle's really going to start heating up?
Oh, I think it was pretty hot just then, but it's definitely going to be really, really tight throughout the season. I think most tracks that we go to have got at least one really twisty section that we're definitely going to be able to catch up in. So we'll see how the balance of the performance goes, and see how that affects things. Hopefully, we won't get slowed down too much, but we'll just see. We'll see.
And of course, just with you, Stuart, as well, it's been an interesting race, as you said, a really tight battle with you guys out there. As I asked Ciaran and Stanley, they said it was quite entertaining. What did you think? Frustrating or?
No, really enjoyable. Yeah, I mean, it was really tough following him that close, because it was scrubbing my tyres a bit harder. So yeah, I knew if I got past him, then I'd pick the pace up more and just be comfortable with what I was doing. So it was just a question of waiting it out and picking the perfect opportunity to pass.
Well, it was a great race, a very good 2-hour race. You two look exhausted. I'll go and let you have a bit of bubbly as well as you. Actually, you two old enough to drink, or
not really?
Not quite.
No,
not quite yet.
Well, that makes me feel very old. But yeah, congratulations, winners here at Rockingham for the 2-hour race in GT4. Stuart Middleton, Will Tregurtha, great races, well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Ciaran Haggerty, second place, I believe, in that race. It got a bit confusing at the end.
It did a bit, yeah. Not really in our race, but the GT3 race was a bit confusing. But to be honest, we were just focusing on ourselves. But yeah, great race. Good way to finally kick-start our season with P2. And my stint was pretty tough, trying to hold off the Ginettas behind, but managed to bring it in on the lead. Done a great pit stop by the team, and then Sandy was able to just get out there, put in some laps and bring it home in P2.
It was a fantastic battle between it was yourself, it was the HHT Motorsport car, you had the Optimum Motorsport car. How many other people were you battling out there? It looked like great fun.
It was fun for a while, but towards the end you were just kind of wanting them to drop back and you to pull away. But no, it was a tough race, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Of course, pit stop calamities at Autumn Park sort of put paid to some of your success. This meeting especially been much better for yourself, as you say. Kick-starts your championship season. We move on to Snetterton next. Is that going to see the McLaren as well?
I think so. I think with going to Snetterton next time is going to be a tough race again, but we won last year there, so I'm confident that we'll be fighting at the sharp end.
And it's going to be an interesting battle with you guys. The Ginettas, the Aston Martins are going to come back strong. It's going to be a great battle between yourselves.
I think so. I think this year particularly the cars are very, very closely matched, and I think it's going to be a tough season, but we're up for the fight.
Well, thank you very much, Ciaran. If I can borrow you, Stanley, as well. Congratulations, second place. Great result for yourself.
Yeah, not too bad. I think the Ginetta was a bit stronger than us today, so yeah, we had to really grind it out. The tyres were long gone, sort of halfway through, so yeah, the car was difficult to drive, so pretty happy with second place. Everything went pretty smoothly, which is good, so we just got to try and be consistent from now to the end of the season, and hopefully we'll be catch up with these guys.
Of course, it was a great battle with yourself, loads of the Ginettas in there as well. That must have been good fun out there.
Yeah, definitely. The Ginettas were really fast. I think at one point we were in the lead with 3 Ginettas or 4 Ginettas, all trying to overtake us. So yeah, it was a difficult race, but really happy with that.
And of course, it was quite an interesting one at the end with the safety car. It didn't affect GT4. GT3 sadly did get affected, but for you guys, how much did that make sort of play on your mind in terms of, well, I've got to rebuild the battle that I've already been doing, they've gone past me before, what have I got to do?
Yeah, definitely. It let me close up on the leader, which was a good thing, but they were so fast anyway, so I wasn't really able to catch them. But unfortunately, it brought the car behind quite close, but I managed to just keep consistent, and thankfully they didn't overtake me.
Of course, Snetterton next, looking forward to it?
Yeah, definitely. We had a win there last year, so that was our first one of the season, so yeah, we usually go well there, so we'll see how it goes.
And of course, it was a much better pit stop in this race.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, happy with that. If we'd had a couple of good results at Ilton as well, we'd be right there. So yeah, like I said, just got to stay consistent and we should be there.
Well, best of luck. Thank you very much, Sandy.
Thanks very much.
So there you go, our top 2 over in GT4. What a great race they had. A really good race, really tight. The McLaren, maybe not suited around the Rockingham Motor Speedway. The car that was a Ginetta.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a surprise all round with that one. I expected this circuit to favour something with an engine in the middle, but it's really been the front engine rear-wheel drive cars that have excelled at Rockingham this weekend. the battle for GT4, I mean, when I was trackside, I tried to get a photo of the GT4 battle, but I didn't have a wide enough lens. It was like they just took all the GT4 field, tied it together with a bungee cord and said, "Have at it for 2 hours, lads." It was an exhilarating race, even not knowing who was leading or whatever, just being trackside. It reminded me of why I do what I do, and it was a fantastic piece of action.
Yep, it was fantastic. In fact, we're going to take the stairs downstairs. It's like Ted's Notebook, isn't it? Yeah, Dan's documentaries or whatever it's called. Motorsport Radio, in case you want to watch. So yeah, motorsport-radio.com. Make sure you come on. You can might be seeing us on Monday's Motorsport. You might just be seeing us on our various social media platforms. Anyway, have I shown you actually? Fully branded. Look, see, we're proper and good here. It's also quite cold. Look, see, I have a logo. I have a name. My name is Dan. This is Nick. Yeah, you won't see this. That's one for the edit. If you don't see this, then brilliant. If you do, hi. Anyway, so also in terms of GT4, we heard from Scott Malvern. So in fact, we'll go back to him in just a second. So I'm here now with Scott Malvern. An interesting race in GT4, that was for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we actually had a decent first stint, but with Nick. But obviously, when the leaders of GT4 got way through under the first safety car, obviously that really put the end to our race. We went a lap down straight away through no fault of our own. But no, pace was strong in the Porsche. I think we're making progress all the time.
It was certainly an interesting time at Orson Park. You qualified really strongly. You showed again very well yesterday. It's a really tight GT4 field this year, so it must be quite difficult to try and find that extra tenth or two.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, it's I'm really looking forward this year to racing with. Obviously, we're pretty evenly matched as a pairing with Osborne and Patterson, and also with Plowman and Taffender as well. We're really close on that, so it's really interesting. We got a bit of a dynamic. Obviously, 3 different manufacturers, 3 different BOPs. So yeah, it's actually it's quite fun to sort of try and find where we're strong, where we're weak, and try and play to our strengths.
Of course, did you find that Rockingham was suiting the Cayman much, or?
No, unfortunately not. It's the problem with the Cayman is it's quite heavy, so it's not very kind on its tyres, which around here is a killer anyway. So yeah, we struggled sort of end of the race, really trying to look after tyres. We had to compromise quite a bit on the setup to try and look after the tyres, but I'm hoping Snetterton might be a little bit more kind to us. But historic last year it was another difficult round for us, so no, it's hard to know. I was surprised at Alton how competitive we were, because in testing we struggled a little bit, but we've looked okay at Snetterton, so it'll be interesting to see where all the other guys end up.
Of course, you've got Ginettas were at the front of the field. They won eventually the race here today. McLaren also looking really strongly. The Porsche, a couple of years older, but still considered a new GT4 car. It's interesting, as you say, to see just the dynamic of these cars. Snetterton's an interesting one, because obviously very long straights, so a little bit of twisty stuff as well, which I imagine could suit the Cayman quite well. Yeah,
I mean, our biggest strong suit is on the brakes. We seem to have really good braking power. Obviously, we're well down on the power compared to a McLaren, but we're obviously above what a Ginetta's got. But then obviously we don't have the aero of the Ginetta. So at Snetterton it's going to be interesting, because obviously, like you say, long straights. Last year the Aston was really strong at Snetterton. The Ginetta, I think, is always strong at every circuit because it's so light. It just doesn't hurt its tyres, and it just keeps going the whole race. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we stack up with the McLaren with the straights and stuff. So I mean, I'm really keen. We've got 2 big braking points at Snet, 2 hairpins. So no, I'm actually excited. I feel like we're this year we're actually in the race.
It's certainly looking more and more competitive. It's quite interesting, because obviously it was a 2-hour race today, 2 1-hour races at Snetterton. So I suppose, is that going to be kind of on the tyres, kind of the car?
Yeah, obviously strategy comes into it. Obviously how you play your tyres. Obviously we get limited amount of sets, so who decides to put their new tyres on for which race and all that kind of stuff is going to play a big part. Obviously the qualifying difference as well, with the AM qualifying and the Pro qualifying, obviously is going to make some difference on whether we use our new tyres here or there. it's so open. It's actually, as a driver, I am actually quite excited to see where we sort of place. But I've already said to Joe and to Martin, it's going to be a really good year this year, trying to sort of fight with them and fight with obviously the three of us, the pros, obviously trying to bring our AMs up to speed as quick as we possibly can all the time to try and get the advantage over the other one. So,
and of course, after Snetterton, Silverstone, that will be a really good circuit for the Porsche, I expect.
Yes, last year we actually were again more competitive at Silverstone than I thought we were going to be, and that was with the old package as well, without the updates. So again, I am looking forward to Silverstone. I think that's going to be a really good one for us. Quite smooth, not too aggressive on the tyres either. So could be our strong suit.
Wherever it goes, it's going to be a great battle. Thank you very much, Scott.
No problem. Thank you.
Scott Malvern there. It's quite an interesting chat with him saying what had happened. The car maybe not suited around here. He said he had a few road car related niggles with that. Of course, the Porsche came in GT4 Club Sport MR, a long enough name, isn't it? Had a few issues around here, but they're looking forward to the rest of the season. And in fact, as you see, we move away from Rockingham Motor Speedway onto rounds 4 and 5 of the 2017 British GT Championship from Snetterton 2 1-hour races. It's too close to call, but Nick, come on, give us a couple of predictions, will you?
Well, I would have gone Bentley until we spoke to Rick Parfitt earlier, and he said no, it's really not our circuit. It's a power circuit. There are a few sort of stop it, turn it, get back on the gas moments.
Is that a Daft Punk song? Stop it, turn it, get back on it.
That could very well be a Daft Punk song, yes. I think we're looking potentially Aston Martin, probably the number one car, because you never count out Johnny Adam and Derek Johnson. You never count them out. In GT4, it's going to continue to be the rise of the Ginetta again, isn't it?
Yeah. Again, the McLarens will be good though.
The McLarens will be good. The McLarens, again, difficult to count out. But if the Aston Martins are going to be strong in GT3, the same characteristics with the Ginetta are going to bring it to the fore in GT4. And the cars in that class, they're so closely matched that you need any advantage you can to win.
Let's get a word. What's your name, mate?
Chris.
Chris, okay, nice to meet you, Chris. So, of course, you seem to be... I'm Bush, Chris, I'm afraid so.
No worries.
Give us a bit about your perspective then, seeing it from trackside. Where were you marshalling? Where were you?
So I was on the exit of the first hairpin. First time ever here at Rockingham. It's a great circuit. GTs are fast. So I'm doing all of the British GT season. So been at Watton Park, now I'm here. But yeah, good race. Shame that the Bentley didn't get a chance to fight with the Ferraris at the end, but a little mistake upstairs with race control, but there we go.
You said it, not me.
They it was on the radio. They made a mistake, but there we go. These things happen.
And of course, you were saying about obviously you're following the full British GT season. Are you enjoying how the season's developing? We saw the big story. Come on through, Sarah. This is just ambushing everyone now. This is what happens. Anyway, if you want to go on in, let's get the door. No, because that's going to get my fingers. There we go. Yeah, this again, live radio, everyone. Go on through. If you take yourself through first, and then we'll go up. The doors are open, so let's keep them open. You're going to ground. You're going 0, aren't you? 0 and then 2. So yes, as we were saying, following the full season of British GT, the way that the story's unfolding, we saw 2 wins for the number 33 Lamborghini Huracan at Alton Park. We saw a great display from the Aston Martins here. Snetterton's going to be another one.
It was surprising how quick the Astons were today, where they didn't seem anywhere at Alton Park, and Bentley seem at both circuits to be pretty quick today, and both times I think they had a bit of bad luck with traffic and a small little incident at Alton Park, but yeah, it's going to be interesting, especially to go through the year and I'm waiting for Silverstone at 3 hours. That'd be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to that. Because some good GT racing.
Obviously you've seen them trackside, so you probably know better than us just how they actually delivered their performance. What are you expecting to see going quite so well at Snetterton?
If it's dry, it should be a really good race. One part was a bit miserable because it was wet, and the GT3 just could not pull ahead, and they just couldn't put the power down. So it was interesting here, even watching one of the GT4 Porsches even having to go at the Lambo in the first chicane, just because it got more grip off the corner at one lap and so I'd have a go. But yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, it's nice the GT4's expanding, especially now that Audi's announced their new car, and I like to see an Audi in this pack next. Yeah, well, yeah, you got Mercedes as well. Hopefully someone will buy an Audi for next year. And hopefully next year we might have a new Aston Martin as well.
Well, hopefully. Well, thank you very much, Chris. Sorry for putting you on the spotlight. Motorsport-radio.com, so make sure you listen in. Thank you very much, mate. So yeah, this is the second floor. The media centre's up here. In fact, what you don't get to see, the interesting thing, just look over there. You don't realise how high up the stadium actually is here at Rockingham, and such a wonderful view with lovely trees and the Corby and all the rest of it. Try not to say anything. Don't you giggle at me, I'm being nice. But it's been, let's summarise, because I tried to finish once and it turns out I couldn't. So what are you giggling at? Yeah, exactly. Let's just carry on. So it's been a great weekend's worth of racing, a 2-hour race in which we learned pretty much nothing apart from the Macmillan AMR car. Can we just say Jack Mitchell's stint in the Macmillan AMR car was nothing short of exemplary?
Yeah, we sat down over some adult beverages last night and decided who was going to be quick. And we mentioned the number 11 Aston Martin, we mentioned the number 1 Aston Martin, we mentioned Lamborghinis, we mentioned Bentleys, we even mentioned the Ferrari. What we did not mention is that number 24 Aston Martin. It came out of nowhere, and it came out of nowhere very damn quickly. It was it was an impressive stint. Just based on what we've seen on the way up here, I'd like to take this chance, if I can, to say thank you to all the people that make this event happen. So the people in Orange, without whom we couldn't go racing at all, we need to say a big thank you to them, but also to the timekeepers and to the people in race control who sometimes make slightly daft decisions, but they come here, and without them we could not go racing. Thank you very much to them as well.
Well, thank you very much to all of the people who put all the effort into supporting these races so we can enjoy what is basically a hobby for us. But, you know, it's been a great weekend's worth of racing. We're going to see even more action up at Snetterton. And we'll just talk about the British GT. We've got British Formula 3 is going to provide another 3 exciting races, all the rest of the support series. So, from my colleague here, Nick Smith, and from Dan Marr, until next time, it's goodbye from me.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks a lot, Dan, and to Nick Smith from the Image team as well. Check them out. He makes some pretty good pictures of cars and stuff. But yeah, fantastic to finally get all the confusion straightened out about the British GT Championship as the TV went off air yesterday, as they would inevitably do. There was still some question marks overhanging exactly who would be the overall race winner. But as you just saw and heard, it was indeed Rick Parfitt Jr. Who was speaking to Dan literally just minutes after the final corrected result was announced. So yeah, I suppose I would say we kind of got a bit of an exclusive on that one, if I say so myself. Sort of, not really. Anyway, this is Monday Motorsport. My name's Lester. Hello and welcome. A big hello to everybody who is watching live or listening live to us right now online, and a massive hello to John Bishop, Ted Pull, James Pull, Des Cullen, Lorraine Willits, and Aaron Gillard as well. Hello, Aaron. And a massive hello to everybody who is watching not live as well. That's probably you. But yeah, it's amazing to hear from Motorsport Marshal Chris Humphreys. Very rare that we actually get to sort of hear from Marshall's track side, to actually hear what they think as well. Chris braving Dan's questioning that was completely at random. He was just happening to make his way home, minding his own business. So Dan sort of pounced on him and asked him loads of questions. But yeah, fair play, and thank you, Chris, for being a great sport and not telling Dan to bugger off. Basically, it's so excellent. And thank you again, as Nick said in the last piece, to all the marshals who were at Rockingham and all over the country as well, and especially to all the medics as well who work tirelessly to ensure everybody's safety. And there was one shocking picture that I saw, shocking in I couldn't actually find it, and sort of I would have sort of linked it to you, but I probably will do later in the week to you. But there was one incident at, I presume, Alton Park at the weekend, where a bike was hurtling through the air, literally heading for one of the TV cameramen and a paramedic, a medic who was very close by, pushed him out of the way, putting himself in harm's way to save the cameraman. The image that was just so kind of perfectly taken at that precise moment when everything was happening at such massively quick time. So anyway, that's just an image that will be sort of burned in my memory for a long time to come. So thank you to everybody who gives their time and effort and their love, and to share their passion as a marshal, as a medic, as some sort of a race organizer and some such. But yes, anyway, back to the British GT Championship and the GT3 drivers' standings as it is now, the official updated one, according to BritishGT.com. John Minshaw and Phil Keane leading the way on 68 points. Rick Parfitt and Seb Morris in second place on 59.5 points. Duncan Cameron and Matt Griffin in third place. Then it's Derek Johnson and Johnny Adam, Mark Farmer and John Barnes in fifth place. Liam Griffin and Sam Tordoff down in sixth. Jack Mitchell, James Littlejohn in seventh. Lee Mole and Ryan Ratcliffe in 8th, Ian Loggy and Callum McLeod in 9th, Harry Gottsacker and Nathan Freak in 10th place. The GT4 drivers' standings after yesterday's Rockingham race is Stuart Middleton and Will Tregurtha, who we heard from just a moment ago in Dan's epic half-hour-long piece there. Graham Johnson and Mike Robinson in second place. Alex Reid and David Pittard, brilliant to be in third place. I'm sure they'll want a better result perhaps when they go to Snetterton in about 4 weeks' time. Quite a while to wait. Then it's in fourth place, Sandy Mitchell, Adam Mackay and Adam Ballon with 33 points each, and Ciaran Haggerty as well. Fantastic to see another British GT Championship round. Despite the chaos and confusion, in some ways that kind of spiced things up a little bit, really. It's nice to keep everyone on their toes, I would say. No, you don't like the frustration of not knowing who won? Okay, maybe not. Anyway. But anyway, this is Monday Motorsport. My name's Lester. Thank you very much for watching or listening live to us. And we do this every Monday, live at 8, or we try to anyway. Given the, especially if it's not at an event where I was previously working the previous day and some such. Mostly I will try and do this live every single Monday, but no promises. But anyway. So anyway, on to British Formula 3. And, as we heard in my last piece from Rockingham, Jamie Chadwick, after giving James Paul the heave-ho, according to the stewards, starts from last place. And it is a fantastic roundup. Let's go and join this young entrepreneurial, young go-getter at the circuit to find out what happened in race 3. End of the weekend here at Rockingham for the British GT and British F3 Championship, and wow, we saw a thrilling final third race of the weekend. And to talk about it with us, it's the checkered flag correspondent and journalist and my old friend and our old friend, it's Connor Jackson. Hello.
Hello, how are you doing, Lester?
I'm okay. It's my first time out at Rockingham. I've totally enjoyed it, and it's I've broken my Rockingham virginity, so hey ho, it was good. Race 3. Wow, there was lots going on, and it was we had a couple of safety cars, didn't we?
We did. Obviously, it was a pretty hectic start. We had a number of first corner incidents, but in total, the marshals, I think, dealt with it pretty successfully. And after the two safety car periods, we got a good start from the front three competitors, and it was good to see them sort of really take the fight up at the front.
Yeah, certainly there was a lap 1 mayhem, and it was Nikolai Kiergaard who came a cropper, unfortunately, and became a victim. Harry Hayek also suffered a DNF that was classed on lap number 2 officially, and that was the first of 2 safety cars, because there was even more events shortly after the restart, which saw Cameron Daz drop down to 3rd place.
He did, yeah. Basically, on the start of on the first restart, Daz held the field up quite a lot going into the last sector, and unfortunately didn't understand that you needed to build a gap coming up to the first corner at Rockingham, and as a result we saw Pull and Hingely come up behind him quite a lot, and basically they drafted him along the oval, which is probably what you expect on this sort of circuit. They went round the either side of him, and ultimately Daz was down to 3rd place before they even got to the Dean hairpin. Hingely came out on top despite being 3rd. Actually, it was a good jump actually from the Fortec driver, who jumped 2 places in total, and from there Hingely just kept the lead, and although he was under a bit of pressure from Pull later on, Pull obviously being on fresh tyres coming into this race, ultimately it was a strong result from Hingely, who takes his maiden victory in British F3.
Indeed, and he's the first person to not be a Carlin on top step of the podium. And here he is, after I chatted to him in a very wet, champagne-soaked, champagne-smelling overalls. Here he is. Race winner in 2017, Ben Hingely. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks very much. Cheers.
How did you do it? Well, talk us through it from your point of view. What happened?
I mean, fair play. Got to give some credit to the team. This started at race 2. We decided to keep on some older tyres that we'd used from race 1. So, meant we had to struggle a bit through race 2, but then we saved some better ones for race 3. And worked perfectly. I managed to get off the line, which I've struggled a bit with today and yesterday, but got a good enough start to keep all the second, and then got a great restart, and managed to lunge down the inside of Cameron and hold on to it from there. So made up.
Yeah, Cameron says he decided to back out of it after I think he was probably talking about you diving and lunging up the inside. Was that sort of a do or die move for you? Do you perhaps regret making that move, knowing that you could have took each other out?
No, there was a big enough gap on the inside, and I had Paul around the outside, and saw a gap, saw the race win and went for it, and that's why I'm stood in the first, and not second, and possibly could have been 3rd, because Cameron dropped back to 3rd because of that move. Between him and Paul, it was very close, and Paul managed to get round the outside, so technically if I would have stayed behind him, I probably would have been the one losing out. So no, had to go for it, went for it, and stood on the top step.
Yeah, and you managed to, importantly as well, keep everybody behind you as well. Just how much pressure was that, knowing that all those people, especially Cameron as well, were behind you, and James as well, who's no slouch.
Yeah, I mean, all of them have been really fast. The Carlin cars have been so quick to start this season, and I think I'm the first one to actually beat them in a race. So a little added bonus there, and we'll keep going now. We'll keep pushing. Thanks to all my sponsors, Fakem, Sports Wales, Fast Way to Fitness. They've helped me so much and brought me on so much in the last year. And when I think this was one of the first tests I did with you, it did in the F3 car, and I managed 2 sessions because I couldn't hang on to the thing, and that was about a year and a half ago. So it shows how much they've brought me on and helped me, and made up.
And now you're beating the mighty Carlin, like you said, the first one to do so far.
Yeah, I mean, they were really strong last year, and probably even stronger at the start of this year. So me and everyone at Fortec, Russell and Barry, we've worked silly hard, a lot of late nights, a lot of sleepless nights as well, thinking about how we can, gain those extra couple of temps. And, we came to Rockingham with a completely different plan from Alton Park, and it's paid off, 2 fourths and a first, made up, really made up.
Well, apart from the obvious, that you're out to win it, what's your plan for the 3rd round at Snetterton?
I've got momentum now, so just keep building on it. Just keep finishing top 5s, top 3s, podiums, wins. It's all good championship points. You got to finger the long season, and we'll just keep building now. Keep going forward. Going to Snetterton, which I've had a podium in before last year. one of our strong tracks, or hopefully one of our strong tracks, and we can push on.
Is that sort of psychological edge, knowing that only you so far have beaten the Carling boys? Is that important, do you think, in the paddock? Do you think they'll sort of be afraid of you, so to speak?
Well, no, everyone's James and Arm and Cameron, they're all really good racers in their own right, so it'd be unfair to just say it's the Carling team that doing that. They're all really good racers in their own right, and we've just got to keep pushing now as a team with Fortec and keep pushing them, make sure they're not sitting on their heels relaxing, they're pushing as well, and we'll keep pushing, that's for sure.
Go and enjoy the win. Ben, well done, congrats.
Cheers, thanks very much. Cheers.
I delighted Ben Hingely chatting to me just after he got off the podium, a P1 for him, and like I said in the interview and before it as well, the only non-Carling victory so far this year. It was in second position, ultimately, James Pull, the Pullmanator. Yes, he made it to P2, and here he is again chatting to me after the podium. A podium, second place, well done, talk us through it.
Thank you. It was a great race, and I had some amazing battles with Ben and Cameron, so fair play to them. It was a bit stop-start with the safety cars, but to be honest, it sort of bunched us all up into a line, and we got some really good restarts and some really good first corners. So yeah, it was a great race. Good job to Ben, good job to Cameron, and yeah, it just feels really good to be able to get back on the podium after a tough start.
Well, how did you get onto that podium from where your grid place was? Talk us through the progression up to second.
Yeah, so again, just like the other races, I got a really good start. I'm not sure how many, I think I gained one place at the start, and then I knew from the last race that being on the outside at turn 1 or turn 2 is not good, because if there's a crash, it goes to the outside, so I stick to the inside, and Anam went outside, he locked up and went off, so I capitalised on that and got another place, and then from there I just had to stick with Cameron and Ben. They were really fast, and it was hard to stay with them with the understeer, with the slipstream, but yeah, I just kept with them, and then at the safety car restart I made sure I was right on Ben's crash box, and I did overtake around the outside on Cameron at turn 1, so yeah, it was a bit eventful. I wish I could have battled with Ben a bit more for the lead, but even so, it was a great race.
Well done, and Snetterton next, you're hoping for maybe the top step?
Yeah, for sure. Last year it took too long for me to get onto the top step, so hopefully I can get it earlier this year, but I've showed that I've got the racecraft for it and I've got the pace for it, so yeah, just going to build on this, try to stay calm and forget about the tough start of this weekend, but yeah, just going to focus on Snet now.
James Pull looking to go one step further in the next round at Snetterton with a P2 here at Rockingham in race number 3, and it was Cameron Daz. He recovered from a bit of a kind of a bad restart after the first safety car. He managed to keep pace with the front two and finished third place. Here he is just after the podium. Cameron Daz, another podium for you. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Talk us through the race. What happened from your point of view?
Yeah, the initial start was really good. We were building a gap quite quickly, and I definitely knew I had the pace and the clean air to walk away from the field as well as manage my tires at the same time. So unfortunately we had a safety car, and on the start, since we have such a long straight here, they were able to get a really good tow down the straight, and then we went 3 wide into 2. You can't really go 3 wide into 2, so someone had to give up, and I was in the middle, so I was kind of pinched off and had to back out, but gave a couple of runs on James, but I wasn't able to get around him. But yeah, good race overall.
So yeah, I suppose going through a learning process of perhaps backing out and getting a podium rather than ending up watching from the sidelines.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think if we were all pretty racy, especially since it's the last race, so anything could have happened, and I think it was just more important to get the points, because still had quite a big lead, so I needed to chip away at it a little bit and just settle with the podium.
That's how you win championships, really, just picking up those podiums, even if it's not always first place, as long as you're on the podium, and this time Inam wasn't.
Yeah, definitely.
Well done, congratulations again, and you must be really excited for Snetterton.
Yeah, really excited. It's a track we've raced at in the Autumn Trophy, so I know the track well, and in the media today we were quite quick as well, so it should be a good race weekend.
Cameron Daz, not where he would have expected or wanted to be, but still another podium for him, and it's looking really good for his title challenge, perhaps, P3. And ominously, no Ahmed on the podium. And I suppose you can't win them all. He's got 4 race wins under his belt already, 4 out of 6. Pretty good, and he's still leading the championship. We've just heard from the top 3, Connor, and there was a second safety car, which may or may not have been caused by Omar Ismail.
Well, I think to say cause would probably be a bit harsh on Ismail. He was more of an innocent victim.
What happened exactly?
From what we could see up in the media room, Ismail and Wahome were both making a lot of progress in the field, and I do apologise, I can't remember which car it was, but one of the vehicles came through into the tyres and outbraked themselves quite a lot, and in the run-up with Wahome, and clipped the back of the Kenyan, and in doing so knocked Ismail off the road on the outside, ripping his rear suspension apart, and fortunately the tyre bands kept the vehicle mostly intact, but ultimately a broken suspension is a broken suspension, and Ismail had to retire from the race. So it was very unfortunate, and it was Harry Hyatt, that was it, who clattered, I suppose, into the side of the young Brit. But Ismail will come back strong. He's had a fairly good weekend. Qualifying has proven that he definitely does have the raw pace, and was leading for quite a large portion of the second race, actually. So it'd be good to see if he could actually get his first win of the season at Snetterton, because he definitely does have the pace for it.
Yeah, it'll certainly be interesting to see. His teammate, incidentally, Jeremy Wahome, I had a quick chat with him after his probably his best, I'm thinking his best result to date in F3.
Yes, Wahome's obviously had I think we'll say a learning year back in 2016.
Which is code, as we know, for a struggling year.
Well,
sorry, what?
Well, ultimately it was a bit of a poor 2016 from Wahome, and I think he'll admit that. But he's come into this season with a lot of improvements. He's come through with obviously new teammates, a lot of returning faces, and especially, as I said, with Ismail, who's performing very well. But Wahome has really stepped up his game, and we've seen that today. He wasn't towards the back. He was genuinely on pace with the midfield runners, and kept behind Chase Owen for the majority of the second half of the race, at which, as I'm sure you'd agree, Lester, is no mean feat.
Yeah, certainly him and the young American Chase Owen were involved in a titanic fight for what ended up to be P6 in the end. And in fact, I caught up with Jeremy shortly after the race to discuss his best ever finish in Formula 3 so far. So, you had a pretty eventful race number 3. You had a pretty good scrap with and leading a pack of cars. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I had a good start. I started 13th. I didn't have the most brilliant of races 1 and 2, so I started on the back foot. But I got a good start, and I managed to get a few places off the line. And then in the next few laps, 2 of the guys crashed, and then I gained a few places off them as well. And then the safety car came out, so that bunched us up all together again. I think I was 7th by then. And then on the restart, I managed to gain 1 more place. I was in 6th, but then I got a knock on the rear of my car. I think there was a collision behind me, and someone hit the back of my car, so something got damaged on the rear of the car. So my steering was slightly bent, and then the gears stopped working. So from then on, I was slightly on the back foot because I couldn't catch up with the guys ahead. So, but it was still good to fight for 6th place with a slightly damaged car and hampered gears, but it was a good scrap.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Now we learn of the Duff gearbox and the damaged steering to keep ahead of a charging Chase Owen, Ahmed, and Samaya. Is that how you pronounce his name? Yeah, but there was a fair few cars quite behind you.
It was Owen behind me, so I was defending against him. Then, as we kept losing time, scrapping with each other, then Samaya joined in, and then I think Ahmed got Samaya in the end. But yeah, it was good to hold on to the position and come out on top of that scrap.
So your weekend overall here at Rockingham, how have you found it? How would you describe it?
It was quite a challenging weekend because practice was good. We tried a few things which worked and didn't work. Then in qualifying, I just didn't get a good lap hooked up, so we started on the back foot for race 1, and then I made a mistake in race 1 and finished at the back because I went off. And then in race 2, I started 16th. I got up to 8th on the first lap, but then I dropped to 9th later on, but then I had a time penalty, 5 seconds for track limits, so I lost all my other places and dropped back to 14th. So really going into the last race, I really needed a good result to wrap up the weekend, so I'm happy to come away with 6th place from race 3.
And the season overall for you, how would you describe how things are going? Are they going to plan perhaps, or they could be better?
Definitely think it could be better. I didn't have the best of race weekends at Oulton Park as well, but I had a few incidents, but then we finished on a high with a really quick lap time. So coming into here, I came with some high expectations, but then obviously once you don't do so well in qualifying, that puts you on the back foot. So I expected a bit more, but going into Snetterton in a month's time, I think I have a better chance there, and then just pretty much start the season again, refresh my mind, and keep fighting for top 10s, top 5s, and hopefully podiums.
And are you completely comfortable in these British BRDC British F3 cars, do you think?
Yes, I'd say I'm completely comfortable now. Last year was my first year in the championship and my first full season in single-seater racing, so I was getting up to speed with the car with a lot of power and downforce. But I think now this season I'm on top of the car. I'm comfortable with the high-speed stuff, the accelerator, everything with the car. So it's now just extracting the most from myself instead of learning the circuits and the car. So I'm definitely a lot more comfortable now.
It'll be fantastic to see if you can pull off some entertaining battles, perhaps maybe not from your point of view if you're sort of driving around with people sort of hitting you, but from our point of view that's sort of fantastic to watch a train of cars with you at the front of it.
It was good fun defending my position. I had a few problems. Last year I was quite inexperienced, so my defending wasn't that good, so I'm glad to have improved in that area and confident enough not only to drive the car to the limit, but to drive the car to the limit with guys around me and defending my position, but all fair and square. So I definitely enjoyed myself today.
Fantastic stuff. We'll, like I said, we'll just have to wait and see what happens at Snetterton in a few weeks.
Yeah, we shall. I'm definitely looking forward, and I'll go back home and keep working hard.
Jeremy Wahome there, speaking to me after the final and third race at Rockingham here. And it was as I was saying, he was involved in a fantastic scrap for 6th place with Chase Owen, and it was amazing to hear Jeremy was battling a bit of a battered gearbox after someone whacked him, and steering issues as well. So for him to keep Chase and a huge pack of cars behind him, some big achievement.
Oh yes, I mean, as I said, Hayek sort of almost clattered into the back of Wahome, so he was struggling with a lot of issues for the later half of the race. And while I will admit, obviously, we saw he dropped off the back of Callan O'Keefe and wasn't anywhere near the fight for 5th or any of the front runners, but his pace wasn't disastrous, and as we said, he managed to keep Chase Owen and effectively the rest of the field behind him, because there was quite a large pack forming behind Owen in the end. It's a good achievement for Wahome, and I really hope he comes away from this weekend with a lot of positives, because something like this, a result like this, he needs for his confidence, especially considering he doesn't have a great racing pedigree background. He doesn't come from a great sort of a great European karting scene. He's come from the national Kenyan scene, and it's great to see him do well on British soil.
Also great to see doing well is Chase Owen, the young American. And he also drops a bit of a bombshell after I caught up with him talking about his weekend and third race. Let's go and find out what he has to say. End of the racing at Rockingham, and I'm with Chase Owen. Chase, how was your second F3 weekend?
It had its ups and downs. It started off, testing went decently well. We ended up in the last session and testing 0.3 off of the lead, and so we were expecting big things, or at least qualifying well, coming into the race weekend. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. We had another mechanical issue with the wing actually unexpectedly fell off, so it's been a challenging couple of my first 2 qualifying efforts have been have been a struggle, and so I've been really fighting an uphill battle all weekend in the races, trying to gain places, and hanging out in the mid to rear where I don't think I belong.
You certainly got very high expectations for yourself and this season for you, but it seems certainly in race number 3 things started to come good for you. You were having some fantastic battles, and I suppose you have been throughout the weekend as well, so to be mixing it up with the sharp end of the grid is a positive.
Yeah, definitely. It was a pleasure to be fighting up in the top 7-8, and so Wahome and I had a good battle there for most of the race, and it was the most fun I've had in the car this season yet. So hopefully more good battles like that. It's frustrating when you can't get around somebody that you have the pace on. So next time I'll study some video and some data and find some areas where I can improve.
So for your season overall, you said it's perhaps not where you want to be, sort of struggling to try and get into the top 10 and having to rely on people dropping out and squabbling in front of you. Snetterton, it's a track that you've been to before, so is Rockingham, and most of the tracks that you've been to because you were here in 2016 for Formula Ford 1600. Do you think there's any sort of any sort of data, any things that you can take away or bring to these tracks that you've learned from your previous experience last year?
In terms of car and handling, not really. They're completely different beasts, but definitely racecraft. It's because Formula Ford is super competitive, a lot of passing, a lot of defending, so that's really what I can translate over to this season. This is my first year in slicks and downforce cars, so definitely running in the pack is difficult, and it's a more of a learning process for me, especially because of the wash that the cars create in front of you, and dealing with that sort of thing is definitely a new experience for me that I didn't really have in the Fords.
Do you think it was perhaps unexpected, that steep learning curve?
I knew it was going to be very steep because these cars are much quicker than the Fords, but I do have high expectations for myself. I know where my pace is comparatively. I'm really not that far off, especially for this being my first year. So, I feel like I'm strong in that aspect. I've tested as much as the budget will allow, and so I'm just really hoping for some better results next time, because with the Fords I did enjoy success, and so I'm hoping to this year as well.
Do you think you're perhaps are you close to getting a podium perhaps on outright pace, on a pure, like I said, without anybody going off in front of you? Do you think that is a possibility soon?
I do, yeah. I believe I have the pace for it, certainly. As long as I can keep my head together and keep the car intact during qualifying, I know I have definitely will be within the top 5, and then during the race, anything can happen. And I think the racecraft that today was a big confidence boost. Fighting with Wahome for several laps, although I didn't pass him, but it gave me a lot of experience with the wash that I discussed. So I think I'll be up there very soon.
Will the budget allow you to finish the full season?
Yeah, I'll be here for the full season. So might see me in different categories, different series as well throughout the year. So
like what?
Don't know yet.
F4?
No, definitely not F4. Could be somewhere in the GTs. So in here and in Europe. So
you heard it here first on Motorsport Radio, Chase. That's a shocker, if I have to say so. So am I right in thinking that you're going to combine what you just said, something in GTs perhaps with F3, or are you going to do a complete switch somewhere?
No, F3 is my main focus for this year. I'm completely dedicated to F3. Just here and there a possible race in GT, but nothing planned so far. So it's not a for sure thing, but hoping to maybe diversify my resume a little bit.
That's a good it's a good way of saying it's a good sentence, I suppose. Well, we will certainly love to see you back and perhaps racing in amongst the top 5 and maybe even on the podium at Snetterton, or maybe in something else somewhere else, Chase. I know you're not quite going to tell me what, but that you've already let the cat out of the bag anyway. But whatever and wherever you end up racing in the next few weeks, best of luck.
Thank you very much.
So, you heard it here first on Motorsport Radio. Chase Owen kind of seemed like he just realised that he just said he was going to be racing in maybe some GTs and realised he said it on camera. He assures me, though, that he will remain in Formula 3, but perhaps looking at, we think perhaps, I think maybe something in the Blancpain might complement his career. Which is not an unusual route for drivers to go down. It's been done before, obviously. He says he can't see himself racing in the British GT Championship, which probably would seem the most obvious thing, but maybe not, given the schedules. So wherever Chase ends up, like I said in the chat with him, that will be fascinating to see. Your thoughts on that, Connor?
Well, it's not unusual for someone like Chase Owen Chase Owen's background to make the leap over to GTs. Of course, being an American star, we've seen loads of Americans sort of come through their sort of national Formula Forward series and their sort of road to Indy and go on to have fairly successful sports car careers. I mean, even in the UK, we saw Wayne Boyd recently move over to prototypes, and that's, I think, has been a fairly successful move from Formula Ford. So Formula Ford is a good place for someone like Chase Owen to move on, and being 24 now, I believe Chase is, he's a lot older than a lot of the other competitors in British F3, and he might need to start looking at other career prospects outside of single-seaters, because ultimately there isn't an awful lot of space for older drivers in the single-seater market.
We will have to wait and see. 24 is by no means old, by the way. I'd just like to clarify that. But certainly wherever Chase ends up, he assures me that he will remain in Formula 3. As you saw there, he does have the budget to do the full season. It's certainly interesting. It wasn't expecting him to say that. Also, as well, Connor, I've been hearing on the grapevine from anonymous sources that there may be a couple, at most, driver changes in time for Snetterton. I've not been told who. I don't know who. I have an idea where. I can't say because no one's confirmed it. All I will say is that Nick Wahome didn't race in the third race. He told me that he had to go and get a flight back to Germany, something about needing to go back to school or something like that, which is fair enough. And Cliff Dempsey confirmed that was the plan. People who know me know I'm suspicious of things like that. And it would not surprise me at all if we see a couple of drivers swapping around, maybe changing teams or even coming or going, and even like we saw in a previous show here on Motorsport Radio, James Raven openly admitted that he is looking to get into British F3, looking for perhaps a test. Perhaps he's got the funding together to give Nick Wahome the heave-ho and join Chase Owen at Hill Speed with Cliff Dempsey Racing. Any thoughts at all?
Well, you're cryptic as ever, aren't you, Lester? Well, but as you say, Raven has openly admitted in the past, and we know his links with Cliff Dempsey, and obviously it's not unusual for a Formula 4 driver to come over to British F3, as we've seen with Chase Owen this year. Wahome himself admitted he's had a bit of a poor couple of weekends, and we haven't seen him too much on the pace. Even in qualifying, he's been a good few tenths off, and although it'd be very disappointing to see him leave the series, if he does, I mean, we don't know anything, but if he does...
That was, by the way, that was just me speculating. I've not heard anything from anyone saying anything, but he didn't race in race 3, and he was very disappointed with his weekend so far, so just want to clarify that.
Indeed. We'll see what happens with Wahome in his career, and we'll see what happens with Hill Speed and obviously with Cliff Dempsey. It's a team that a lot of people want to get into, and I think this championship is a championship that a lot of people want to put their foot into, to say, oh, I've raced this sort of level, this sort of series. I know a lot of these sort of F4 drivers have openly admitted they'd love to do national F3 before they do a full season. So something like this would be a great opportunity for a lot of drivers, but whether any drivers any changes happen, it might all just be speculation. And I have seen this before, where drivers have been sort of threatened to leave the team, or teams have threatened to drop drivers, and it never comes about for various funding reasons. And at the end of the day, I think that's what it comes down to, is funding and money, and ultimately who has the money to buy that seat.
And if, like you say, nothing does happen, then we'll never mention any of it ever again. And Dan Marr joins us on the scene to say stop the press. Maldonado has been excluded from race number 3. Why, Dan?
I believe it was a contact with Ismail in race 3, and that's at the grand old time of 7 o'clock, has just been announced. So, yeah.
So, late breaking news here. Maldonado, who was last anyway in the standings, has now officially been disqualified for contact, which puts him again still at the bottom. Unfortunate for Maldonado. But thank you very much, Dan. He literally just sprinted up about 3 flights of stairs to tell us that, so well done. Maldonado, weekend overall for you though, Connor. Your thoughts?
In terms of the weekend overall, I think it's been a fairly enjoyable one. The race 2 we had with the battle between Sowery and O'Keefe, and the general sort of battles we've seen up and down the field have been enlightening, and it's been great to see Formula 3 back to its sort of prime. Yeah, back to its best, because I think if I'm being a little critical, we have to say that Alton Park wasn't the best display of Formula 3 racing. There was a lot of very static drivers. There wasn't an awful lot of overtakes within the race. I don't think we really saw any major overtakes after the third lap of any race. And while this circuit does sort of help the overtaking side of it, we do need to see sort of more close competitive action and more opportunities for drivers to jump up through the field. And that's what we did see today, with people like Enam making some progress after his first lap incidents in race 2 and race 3, and people like Daz, who managed to work his way pretty much all the way back through the order for his race 2 win, I believe it was. So it's great to see that, and it'd be interesting to see if this sort of racing can continue down at Snetterton, because I've thoroughly enjoyed this weekend, and I think this has been a lot better than what we saw at Alton Park.
Is Connor Jackson's view on the action here from Rockingham. I suppose since it's only fair I give my point of view, since I've asked him his. I suppose I will try to remain neutral. But overall, from the comments that I've heard from the drivers, the track typically difficult to try and overtake. You'll probably see it when if you care to watch the actual official TV programme of it. Once the cars get onto the start-finish straight, come out of the final corner, there's very, very rarely any overtaking moves, and drivers knowing this, and it'll just kind of hurts their tyres if they attempt to do so. So the only big overtaking moves mostly came from people kind of dropping out, and it's kind of a bit of a shame, but in some ways good for us viewers, I suppose. I've still not given my opinion. I would probably agree. Overall, it's been a lot more entertaining. I would say a lot more action seems to have happened, including late disqualifications. I'm going to put you on the spot, which is unlike me. Driver of the weekend?
Driver of the weekend. I think I've got to say someone like Cameron Daz. He's performed well. he's got some solid points from this weekend, and with Ahmed struggling in the latter two races, he's managed to really claw back the gap in the championship. Obviously, Enarm still leads the championship. He still has quite a good points gap, but Daz has managed to close that gap significantly, and with no one else really performing at the high level that we've seen and managing to pick up the points where Enam dropped. I mean, even Sowery's had a terrible weekend, and he was someone we really expected to be up near the front. Daz is starting to pull away as the only sort of other driver who can challenge Enam at this moment. But of course, we've still got the whole season to go, and it'll be interesting to see whether the young American can keep up his pace later in the year.
And again, since I've asked Connor his opinion, it's only kind of fair I give mine as well, I think. I was going to say maybe Ben Hingely for getting the only win that wasn't a Carlin, but I suppose I kind of have to go with Cameron Daz, just because he's been very consistent, i.e. on the podium, and to win championships, as I said in our podium interview, that's kind of what you have to do. And he backed out of a manoeuvre when he saw sort of Hingely diving up the inside of him, and that ultimately rewarded him with the podium instead of resulting in him sort of watching from the sidelines. So very mature driving already from the young American Cameron Daz, who I suppose I usually don't like to say it because it kind of I'm scared of upsetting the rest of the paddock, but yeah, Cameron Daz, driver of the weekend from both of us, even though he only won one race, but consistently on the podium. So fantastic result. Going forward to Snetterton, your thoughts? What you expecting? Any predictions? Anything like that?
Snetterton's a very flat track. It's also a track that will be hard to overtake on, so it'll probably benefit the people who can qualify well. From what we've seen today, that's people like Daz, that's people like Ismail, that's people like Enam who usually put the car towards the front. It might benefit Sowery to an extent, and it'd be good if it did benefit Toby after what's been quite a dire weekend for the Lannan Racing driver. It's been sad really, because loads of us expected Sowery to be at the front, and it's not really come about. So maybe Snetterton is a good opportunity for him to really get his championship fight back on track.
Well, we will keep the Formula 3 championship information flowing, and including any breaking news about driver changes throughout the season right here on Motorsport Radio. Back to me in studio. Yes, thank you very much. That was indeed mine and Connor Jackson from the Checkered Flag, our review of the weekend. And what do you think if you're watching or listening to this live? Get in touch with us. It's at M-Sport Radio on Twitter. It's Motorsport Radio on Facebook as well. You can also join in the live chat on our Facebook live stream as well. And have to say a big hello to Paul Owen, who's watching and listening to our live stream right now at the moment. Hello to Ed Hunter from the Formula One Addicted Facebook group. Great Facebook group as well if you are looking for a Formula One related Facebook group. And a big hello to the other Formula One Facebook groups who I also spam with their permission. Thank you to everybody. And hello to Keith Bond, who is right now on the live stream. George McDonald. Hi, George. It'd be great to see you back out in a some sort of a Formula Ford car soon, if you've got that one repaired. I don't know. But Ben Tinkler, if you're tuned in live, hello Ben. Ed Ray, Fortec mechanic, hello Ed, and Michael Skeet as well, amongst other people. Don't forget, sharing is caring. Here on the Motorsport Radio. My name is Lester. This is Monday Motorsport, and by the way, just before we go, just to say the championship in British F3 is pretty much as close as it was before even race one at Alton Park. Not quite, but I'm maybe just exaggerating a little bit. Inam Ahmed at number one in the championship at the moment on 156 points. Only one win from the weekend, and he was unlucky. I would probably say to not pick up more wins, but 4 out of 6, not bad, I'd say. He's still leading the championship on 156 points. Cameron Daz, despite him only winning race number 2, which is the reverse grid race, and you actually get less points for a win in that second race than you would do in a second place in a normal race 1 or race 3. So A win's a win. Cameron's got his first win, and he did it on merit, I suppose, and he's now in second place in the British F3 Championship on 141 points. Shortly behind him in the championship, Ben Hingely in third place on 134 points. Then it's James Pull on 119 points in fourth place, suffering one DNF, unfortunately, in race number 2 yesterday at Rockingham. Callan O'Keefe in fifth place on 115 points, could still get inside the top 3, all to play for as they head to Snetterton next round. Yes, another 3 races. The Snetterton 300 is coming up in about 4 weeks' time. Again, on the British GT bill, I think. Yeah, it should be. Usually they all it's journalism for you. Anyway, yes, there was literally no time to talk about. This show could actually go on for about 5 hours if we talked about everything that happened at the weekend, from MotoGP, BSB, the European F3 races. Well done as well to Lando Norris winning another F3 race at the weekend, and to Callum Aylos as well. I saw a wonderful picture of Callum celebrating his I think first victory of the season. I think it was. If it wasn't, apologies. But yeah, it was certainly nice to see the Brits dominating in Europe in Formula 3, in the FIA Formula 3 Championship. What do you think? Still get in touch, even if we're off air and not live. Use the comments and express your opinion, either good or bad. I don't mind. Interaction's interaction. And comments asking about what do we think about Jehan Daruvala? Good driver. Yeah, good driver. He's I suppose proved himself to be a pretty quick driver. He's certainly no backmarker. I have nothing else to say about Jehan Daruvala. He did race previously in the F4, which is now F3 Championship, amongst other things, and was previously, I think, a Sahara Force India reserve driver, if he's not still currently. Not sure. Paul Owen gets in touch and says, I won in Silverstone as well. Well, there you go. So I was wrong. So apologies, Callum. Second win of the season for you, and that's he's now level in terms of wins with the great Lando Norris, I think. Don't know who won race 3 though. Was it Ericsson? I forget now. Anyway, that's the British F3 Championship all wrapped up. And like I said, literally too much to talk about. If we had a panel show of everyone piling in with opinions, I mean, we've already had tons of people on tonight's show, including James Pull, Cameron Daz, NM Ahmed. We've had... did we have NM? We didn't actually have him on, but I'll publish that interview later in the week. Chase Owen was on. Yes, he did it. He dropped his bombshell. He is looking to move to, or combine or expand his CV, his portfolio of racing with some GT races. Wouldn't be pushed on exactly where and doing what exactly, but be interesting to see as well what he does if it is British GT. Who and where and what and how and when, but that's another discussion for another time, I suppose. Also on the show tonight, we heard from Toby Sowery, Ben Hingely, Omar, Ismail, Jeremy Wahome. Hello, Jeremy, if you're tuned into us live, and Jamie Chadwick. Hello, and Rick Parfitt Jr. Sort of not celebrating his first win at Rockingham. His long-awaited first win at Rockingham. He and Seb walked off the podium. If you didn't catch it earlier, rewind it and you might be able to see if you're watching the Facebook Live stream. Scott Malvern was on as well. Ciaran Haggerty and Sandy Mitchell. Hello to you both, and Will Tregurtha as well, and to Chris Humphreys, the marshal who Dan Marr valiantly sort of dived upon to grab an opinion from. I don't know if Dan actually knew Chris. I don't think he did, but well done. Thanks for being a great sport anyway, Chris, and sharing your opinions with us. Big thank you to Connor Jackson from the Checkered Flag, journalist and also podcast presenter as well. Nick Smith, photographer at the Image Team. And of course to Dan Marr, and thank you as well for participating and sharing, and hello as well to Chase Owen if you're also watching as well, Chase, and to John Provost as well, hello to everybody. Yeah, it's unusually very interactive show tonight, thank you. Anyway, we'll be back next week live at 8 with more stuff to talk about. We might even, there was a little matter of a Formula 1 race. See, it's been that packed, we've not even had time to talk about that, but that's again, like I said, we could have literally carried this on for about 5 hours, this show, if I'd wanted to talk through and get through everything that I wanted to talk through, then it certainly would have been 5 hours. But anyway, it is the end of the show, and it's just been 2 hours, I think. So thank you very much for tuning in live, and stay tuned to motorsport-radio.com for all the latest news from Dan Marr, and read his race reports in more detail, and watch some of the latest and best videos as well for free. You don't have to pay a penny for our videos, including some of the best live streams as well. So forget any other websites that like to charge you money. Ours is free the way it should be. Maybe not. But yeah, check it out, motorsport-radio.com. Sign up, and if you're into your quizzes as well, if you're a big quizzer, we put some quizzes on there. Well, we started to put some quizzes on. It's a long process because it takes a lot of research to do. Unless you have some questions that you want to contribute, that's fine. But anyway, I'll shut up now and leave you alone. And I'll say join me again next week, live at 8.